Well. First video where I live up to my channel name. Might as well go balls deep and start off on a strong one too, huh? Though this is kind of just a bunch of thoughts I wrote down in one sitting, so it won't be like any of my previous videos. So the PS5 and Xbox Series X... God, Microsoft, your names are stupid. They're supposed to be coming out this year, this holiday season, and I guess they expect us to just blindly pre-order them even if they end up being piles of garbage. Because we still don't have a lot of good reasons to get one at launch, especially if you already own a decent PC, or even if you own the current gen consoles. The 8th generation was pretty average. I owned a PS4 since 2015, and I thought the console itself was pretty disappointing. Had some good games on it for sure, but it was really just a gimped, restricted PC. We could see from day one of the 8th gen that the hardware was holding some games back, having long loading times, low storage space, being loud as a jet engine, and being unable to perform at what should have been industry standard at the time, 1080p, 60 FPS. The main goal was probably to keep costs down as much as possible at the expense of performance. This next generation, however, is a huge leap forward, and we're going to see the impact in our wallets. We do know that some companies are going to be upping the price from $60 to $70, or whatever your regional equivalent is. I don't think that will be too big of a deal, to be honest, and if you don't like that, you don't have to buy games on day one, just saying. I shouldn't have to say that, but, you know. But the first game we saw to take the plunge, NBA 2K20, what a laughable idea, paying anything more than nothing for that gambling simulator disguised as a sports game. Anyway, we didn't get to see the console's presentation at E3 this year due to the beer virus, but if we did, we would probably know the price of both of them by now. They are hiding this information for a reason. I think they will be pretty expensive, and to be honest, I actually don't have a problem with that on its own, especially if we are getting good hardware capability in return. Just tell us the damn prices already. I would say the enjoyment I've had from the systems I've owned over the years more than make up for the money I spent on them, so if your console is expensive, but there are a lot of great games for them that justify the asking price, then that's fine. But there aren't. I know, it always takes time for a console's library to grow, but right out of the gate, if your system is going to break the bank, it better be worth it from the get-go. We've had tons of games confirmed for these two systems already, but most of them are cross-generational games, or also available on PC. For the PS5, we do have some exclusives announced, but we don't know exactly when any of them are coming out. The only ones that may actually launch with the PS5 are the Spider-Man Miles Morales game, which may not even be a full-length game, and Astro's Playroom, which is confirmed to come with the system. I doubt that will be a full game too, but you never know. On the Xbox side, well, they've confirmed that every game for the Xbox Series X, okay, I'm calling it the SeXBox from here on out, I don't care. They will be compatible with the Xbox One for a year or so, meaning there will be no exclusives during that time. So why even bother with the SeXbox when you can already play those games on your current system? Not only that, like the Xbox One, every game that's exclusive is also on PC, which is arguably always going to be the superior version. So, what's the point? Game Pass? Oh wait, that's on PC too. Jesus, sell me your system, Microsoft. You really aren't trying to, are you? I know a lot of these moves have earned some goodwill from people, but they've also devalued their own system so much to where there's no point in buying it, even years after it comes out. On that note, let's go back to Sony. Aside from the fact that there will only be half a handful of launch exclusives, a lot of the games they revealed showed little to no gameplay because they were not ready to launch this year. I've always said that if your game is not ready to launch within, say, 1 year, you shouldn't show it off. Which might sound arbitrary to some people, but hear me out. Usually when a big budget game is within a year of releasing, the game will be at a point where they will have some sort of mostly complete gameplay demo to show us. If they don't have actual gameplay available to show, they are wasting our time and can fuck right off. Harsh, I know. But these are games, not movies, not TV shows, not comic books. Gameplay comes first, not visuals, not cinematics, not story. And yeah, some of the games shown at the PS5 presentation did have gameplay, some of which look quite nice to be honest, but we don't know when they are coming out. So I'm just going to have to ignore them all until there is a date, because for all we know, that gameplay could be quite different by the time they come out. Another issue Sony has is one that's more personal to me specifically. There are a lot of niche Japanese games that I love, and since the 90s, PlayStation has always been the #1 place to go if you wanted the best of them. I like the way they are designed, the art styles they use, the stories that are told, but Sony doesn't seem to care about them anymore. When I got a PS3 in 2012, it was mainly to be able to play all the Japanese RPGs that were on it. And yeah, some of them were quite lewd, or had lewd humor. The PS4 had them too, for a while. When Sony relocated their management to California in 2016 to get a better foothold on Western industry standards, everything got much worse for the smaller Japanese developers. It became logistically more difficult for them to communicate with Sony's American management, which they were required to do, even for games that were only releasing in Japan. Not only that, the Western standards of censoring sexual content are more strict than Japan's, meaning things that were regular over there, things that people like me didn't have a problem with or are used to, are being altered to pander to hypocritical moral busybodies who don't even play these types of games. Oh, but their big AAA games get a free pass, of course. We don't need our console manufacturer being the moral arbiter of the content we want to enjoy, just so they can cater to a global audience, which really just means the lowest common denominator of censorship. Why would I be interested in this next console generation when there's no place for me in it, due to my favorite developers getting shafted by these new ridiculous standards that Sony has? Notice how none of the games in the PS5 presentation use Japanese art styles? It's very obvious why. This is a personal gripe of mine that many people will overlook, but I hope people will understand that censorship is always worse than whatever fictional content they are trying to water down. I mean, I could always just play them on the PC or Switch. Or just play my older games instead, right? Well, backwards compatibility has been a talking point for these systems, but it's not really a selling point if I can't just put my old games in it and play them directly without having to download some shit, and if I still own the previous system. It's not like trading the old systems would be worth anything once the new ones come out, so why bother? Microsoft seems to have the right idea with theirs at least. You'll be able to play every game that was available on the Xbox One, which includes all of the 360 and original Xbox games that were also compatible. But it's still an incomplete list. The PS5, on the other hand, will only be able to play PS4 games, and we have no guarantee that it will include all of them. It's unfortunate, as there are a lot of PS3 and PS2 games that would be very nice to play on a system that doesn't operate like a snail. Oh well, guess PC emulation will always be the way to go, since they seem to be against letting us use our old physical games we already bought and play them straight off the disc. You know, true backwards compatibility, so much for customer loyalty. And last but not least, we have my personal biggest issue, which is the slow death of physical media and the rise of anti-consumer practices by corporations. Physical games are the only thing keeping me playing on the console right now. I never buy digital console games. Heck, I stopped buying games on Steam in favor of GOG for the same reason. You don't own anything you buy on PlayStation Network, Xbox Live, the Nintendo eShop, Stadia, and even Steam. Once consoles go full digital, I'm out. And the digital-only versions of these systems we are getting are the telltale sign that physical media's time is limited. Great job, gamers. You've caused this by continuing to buy digital for convenience's sake over your consumer rights. Many physical games these days are sold to us as incomplete products, so they can just make us download or even pay for the rest because you accepted it. You continue to pre-order, board the hype train, buy the rip-off DLC and microtransactions, make excuses for these corporations' anti-consumer actions, and you're going to do it all over again this 9th generation. Oh well, too little too late for me to say this now. I hope you're all happy. You get the industry you deserve after all. And what about Nintendo during all this? Who knows? They have little of interest coming out lately, with a bunch of other games in limbo that they are keeping under wraps for some reason, and no indication of a new system to compete in the 9th generation in terms of hardware capabilities. With the requirements new games are going to have going forward, the Switch is not going to be able to handle it. Guess we'll just have to wait and see, and continue to ignore all the ridiculous, baseless rumors that brainless fanboys spread around every time they go silent. So yeah, expect this next generation to be very lackluster for a while. There's really no justification to buying these systems, let alone pre-ordering them in 2020, and that will probably remain true throughout 2021, maybe even beyond that. The only silver lining in all of this is that going forward, due to the new processing and graphical capabilities of these systems, games could see a notable improvement in complexity, variety, and innovation across the board. But will that really happen? I doubt it. We'll get a few of them, sure, but mostly just see more of the same stuff from the 8th generation with prettier graphics. That's what the people want, I guess, since that's what keeps selling. Will I buy one of them eventually? Maybe. The PS5 will probably have something I want at some point in the future, and call me a boomer, but if I can still get physical games that work in the same way as the PS4 does, I'll tolerate it. However, there has to be a good number of games I want before I get it, like how I waited to get the PS4 until there were several games I wanted. This E3 free summer of new announcements has been exceptionally disappointing so far. But it isn't over just yet, with Xbox having another one on the 20th. And Nintendo? Who knows? There will probably likely be a Direct sometime soon, or not. And there's still various other events, so we'll see. But I'm not getting my hopes up. Alright, I'm done whining about fancy plastic boxes. What do you people think? Do you think along the same lines I do when it comes to next gen? Are you excited for the PS5 or SeXBox or any of the upcoming games? Are there any points I left out? Do I sound like an unhinged, ranting, no-life lunatic? Not sure on anything yet? Remember, if you don't know, keep your expectations low. And if you enjoyed this video for some reason and want to see more videos like this, you know what to do. By the way, the next Smash character is Knack, just saying.